Ash's, like, bank statements for that period, we can't really be sure how much money she spent on herself. Ash has also been claiming behind the scenes that she makes a lot of money, which, again, begs the question as to why she would have needed to crowdfund for the trip in the first place. Now, granted, this is all speculation and purely what we were able to find on our own. It's not like we have a direct statement from the participants in the lawsuit.
Oh, ponder. Do you think I came to this collab empty-handed?
Evidence? Statements to call claims into question? That's hot. That's hot.
Hot is right. I confirmed with both lightning and ice. I actually did what a lot of people wouldn't. I directly emailed Onision myself. He refused an interview, but I think it is worth stating that Ash has not sent any paperwork to him of this sort.
Gonna be real, if you had gotten an interview with him, I probably wouldn't have done this collab. While it could potentially be argued that Onision's work can't really be trusted and that he has proven himself to have a very long track record of lying so as to avoid making himself look in the wrong, at this point, Ash has a similar pattern of behavior. So if we can't trust Onision on his word with no evidence given, can we really trust Ash?
Well, that's hot right there. I might burn myself on this tea.
Careful then, we're only a quarter way through and it's hard to talk with a burned tongue. On top of that, Onision himself had issued a protection order, the legal court proceeding for which took place on January 24th between himself, the YouTuber Repsion, and the investigative journalist Chris Hansen.
Which would have never worked in the first place, let's be honest. As well as he followed to the wrong Chris Hansen.
The important point here is that the community was very aware of this lawsuit happening, not just because it was against Repsion, who is well known in the community for actively criticizing Onision's actions, and Hansen, who was actively investigating Onision and claims made against him at the time, but also because, in general, there's a spotlight on Onision right now, and people are hyper-focusing on various facets surrounding him.
If Ash had filed a suit against Onision, there is no way that the community wouldn't know about it. Even if Onision didn't talk about it himself, he's under so much scrutiny right now, and so many people have found before him. Even Repson himself was looking to see if Ash was telling the truth. And of course, he found just as little as we did.
And now Ash has removed the Onision videos, abandoned her original Patreon, and seems to be making no mention of the suit in the hopes that people will just forget that she ever tried that.
Which again, F in the chat for anyone who paid for that legal fund.
Tune in for part 2 over on Stone's channel, where we'll be going into a commentary on Ash's apology but really not apology video. Click on the link in the description for that.
Get you on the dog.
Guess we know now whether or not Stone has his fun with the lights on or off.
Water!
And of course, before we vanish into a puff of darkness, we'll need a little light to check out these awesome fan art pieces some cutie pies have made. First up, we have Raise the Balance by Drinks, with some squishy cute tentacles to love and snuggle, and a happy looking little octo bunny. I also find the little octopus icons in either corner to be absolutely adorable. Swinging into Savior, it's Not All Heroes Wear Capes, Some Have an Octopus on Their Butt by @ArtLUnit, perfectly accentuating some real Ponder strength, as well as some paired tentacle strength to match. A perfect combo. Looking ready to go, it's Pondering Sprockets by Foxy Moron Garden. Really putting a lot of fun expression into both characters' faces and wonderfully contrasting the blue and purple with some lovely dynamic yellow and orange. Very cool. As a return to cuteness, we have A Teeny Ponder by Leech Juice, giving us some sweet, comfy, huggy snuggles. I also like that Peen's tentacles are basically everywhere. Very fitting considering how many he has. Bubbling up from below, it's Ponder Sprocket by The Starry Lamb, featuring some cheapy goodness with a beautiful undersea background to accompany it. I love all the curves and the chubby look of everything, as well as the extra added detail between eye. Very nice. For additional squishy chubby fun, we have Octobomb by Moss. Can I just say that I absolutely love the style Ponder Sprocket was drawn in here? It looks so clean and soft and really gives off the vibe that she's huggable and fun. And that little heart in Peen's eye is just such a cute accent. Because snuggles are a trend, here's Warm Up by Hot Pink 3. Aw, these buddies look so heckin' cute. I also love that it looks like Peen is ruffling Ponder Sprocket's hair. It's kinda nice, you did good, kid vibe to it. Swooping across the city, it's Ponder Sprocket to the Rescue, fan art gift by C. Lestial. Nice name. Pretty nicely demonstrating how Ponder Sprocket and Peen actually cooperate to move around. I love surprise canon accurate pieces, and the posing here is just lovely, paired with that lovely sun. Ready to shine, here's Octomama by Cal Cole, and I hope I said that right, with some, can I just say, super nicely done lighting. The way Ponder Sprocket's hair is drawn here is so cool, it gives me this awesome intense anime vibe. Giant titties probably also help with that. Next is Original Character Don't Steal by @ThornIllustrate, who I guess wanted me to be left completely speechless by the hilarity of this piece and those expressions Congratulations, Thorn. You did it. I don't know why, but I look at this and my brain just goes, swoop, there it is! Pointing at the issue, we have Honor Sprocket Octomama Above All Octomamas by Tanky the Great, with an absolutely awesome sketch digital painting hair design. I love how the piece draws your focus to the arm and face, and then the sketch lines sort of accent the rest of the form. It's very nice. And finally, we'll end off with some innuendo in The Officer That Went Deep by my good friend Weird. You can tell because there's a little weird ball down in the corner. You get some lovely high-angle perspectives, clearly posing too well, paired with a serious face and some tentacles that look like they're about to do some grabbing. Better start running. If you like any of these pieces, please don't hesitate to show the artist some love through the links provided in the description. You can also check out my artist's work if you're so inclined, DeviantArt, Twitter, Patreon, you know the drill. Thanks for taking this plunge with me, my cuties. See you in the next video. Octomama out. Please do not harass or attempt to intimidate any of the people mentioned in this video. Honor Sprocket commentaries are intended as critiques of situations or behaviors based on the information available. They are meant to showcase previously unexplored perspectives, demonstrate wrongdoings, point out contradictions and misinformation, or dispel false narratives so that others may come to an informed opinion. Under no circumstances is targeted harassment appropriate or encouraged. As an additional note, while this video discusses legality, please remember that we are not lawyers, and thus this video is an exploration of the situation based on what we personally understand or were able to find out. Don't take it as solid legal advice. Welcome to part 3, my pretty little cutie pies. I'm here with Darkness Stone, who's gonna help me go through a particularly long and garbage-fire-esque interview between Madame, now known as Princess Ash, and we will be referring to her as such because it's more consistent for newcomers, and someone a few of you might remember from a 2-part co-op I just recently finished up with Nezzy Monster.
Yeah, before you guys ask, Ponder took away my download. She said it was too dangerous. But we are back to the video. Please make sure to check out the previous parts and make sure you do not get lost.
With that being said, and hopefully with everyone caught up, please welcome to the stage Princess Ash and Akumu. Akumu's not a princess, by the way. Just sort of sounds like that.
To pay Pell next year and go to college, and she never specified why she couldn't get paid. I just thought maybe she was a late bloomer because, you know, I'm a late bloomer. I didn't really get my license like right when I turned 16. Like I was kind of late for that. So I kind of get it, and I didn't really want to, like, you know, bring that up or be awkward about it. It's just one of those things where it's like, oh, okay, you know, whatever. And she would always talk about, like, going to college and how excited she was for it. So we were just under the impression she was around our age. She never insinuated, like, that she was a child. She always tried to act like an adult around me and my friends. So it was just really weird.
Again, Ash saying that swimmers just gave the impression that she was older, not that she ever expressly stated that she was a college student or that she was 18, just that they got that impression, which is not the same thing as swimmers lying about her age, which is what Ash claimed that she did initially.
I had so many problems seeing through Akumu's own video on the subject because it had so many issues. But I'm going to keep it at that for what I think about it.
Oh yeah, and guys, some of you may recognize the voice of the interviewer. If you saw my last video, yeah, it's Kumu. That's where Akuma comes in. As in, the guy who made an entire video trying to claim that Summers was the one in the wrong because of things he assumed, and had absolutely no evidence for outside of Ash's word on the matter, and where he blatantly mixed up intellectual artistic copyright with trademarks and patents, so that he could claim that Summers doesn't own her own artwork. That guy.
It's possible after this recording, so there's some credibility to it, because I already know with how things are going, not everyone's going to listen. Do you have any possible screenshots or past messages that can...
I don't delete them out of Discord. I mean, like, I don't delete any messages. What kind of screenshots?
Screenshots like providing, or like her insinuating she did it, anything like that.
I would have to go through all of them. You have evidence of what?
Or if you can, when you're free, that would be great to go and communicate with. Because right now I have evidence that she didn't tell you her age. That she told you about her.
She did not.
Shocking, Akumu. You have evidence that someone didn't say a thing? Really? When you apparently don't have the entire conversation available to you, as you've effectively already made note, you must be psychic or something to have proof of a negative.
And if he had proof of anything, why isn't it shown? It makes no sense. And Ash says she doesn't delete her messages. Oh, Ash, I know you don't.
What do you mean?
Oh, you will see, Ponder.
Yeah, and the sexual assault thing was strange. I had talked to other like victims because I had some friends that were like, yeah, that is weird. Well, I did have a friend approach me and say, you know, they at first were fighting with her, like, isn't that kind of fucked up? And I was like, nah, dude, like I've been sexually assaulted too, and she did it in under 5 minutes. I'm not exaggerating that. No one. This is kind of how it went, and it sounds crazy, but it's like, hey, I'm like a really big fan of your channel, whatever. And I'm like, oh my god, hi, it's nice to finally get in a call with you. You know, we greeting each other, and then she's like, oh, by the way, I was raped. It was just very sudden and like abrupt, and it was just like.
I was very suspicious about it until it was confirmed by James, but James also confirmed that she told him that you initially first fixed the threat, and that's where all the YouTubers are not, they're not pointing that out. You first fixed the threat. And he didn't point that out either in his video, yet he told him that.
Weird that you apparently had the sexual assault confirmed to you by James, but continued to be skeptical about it in your video claiming that Slumers was the one in the wrong. Specifically, you were skeptical that she would reveal something like that, but not her age, allegedly. Now you're stating that it was confirmed. Doesn't that mean that Ash is still in the wrong for publicly broadcasting someone's private matters onto his open platform as a means of discrediting that individual? Especially when Ash has, as we discussed in the last video, stated that private issues don't need to be publicly broadcast, only for her to then broadcast someone else's private issues. Yet this interview is glossing over that blatant contradiction. It'll happen more as we go forward, but as the sexual assault is brought up, despite Akumu now admitting that he had it confirmed to him, Ash just gets to continue on with the narrative of, oh, it was weird that she revealed it to me, as if that justifies her publicly broadcasting it and claiming that Slumers lied about it when she had no proof of this.
I also have a hard time believing she acted the way you are stating. With your own track record about lying about someone to paint them in a negative way. With the way you're presenting it, it's making it look like she doesn't care about telling people, which I doubt is the case.
Another thing to take into consideration is that Ash's claims for what Slumers said and how it was brought up cannot be verified. This all happened in a call which wasn't recorded, according to her. Slumers has provided evidence that showcases her side. Ash has only provided snippets of that same evidence which actually contradicts a bunch of her claims. Everything that is not contradicted by the evidence Slumers provided are things that cannot be verified at all, and we're, what, expected to take Ash at her word, I guess? A little bad, considering that Kumu acknowledged right here that he was suspicious of Slumers' claims regarding his sexual assault, and he had to see evidence for it. So something super personal like an assault, which was only shared with Ash and was not meant to be broadcast publicly, forcing Slumers to effectively prove the claim is fine, but things like, she never told me her age, we can just believe at face value with no evidence, huh? Despite it being a key point of Ash's entire defense. And yes, I'm saying no evidence because according to Slumers, the age stipulation was in a call, and Akumu can't have evidence of a negative. And yes, I am saying no evidence because according to Slumers, the age stipulation was in a call, and Akumu can't have evidence of a negative. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Ponder, are you okay?
You can't prove a negative by saying this thing that there's no record of, and I wasn't even therefore happened this way and not this way.
Ponder, it's okay. We'll get through this.
I need donuts!
How many? I'm holding up my card. Duncan?
I don't know all these people. I've never watched a video about it. So if you could just solely ask me questions about it, because I have no idea who's that. Like, I don't know. I've literally been traveling for like a week. I don't know any of these people.
15-year-old that you apparently threatened to sue.
I have no idea who that is. So, like, if you could just keep questions. Like, I'm getting confused and I'm hungover, so that's not good.
Good to see you're taking this seriously, hon.
I feel the need to draw attention to not only the claim that Ash is unaware of the videos on her and that she hasn't watched them, but also the want for Akumu only to ask her questions about the situation. She's asking that he not take in other sides or other considerations, effectively just that he only turns to her for what happened in the situation, despite her not being able to provide evidence for most of what she says. On top of that, yeah, a good chunk of the things that Ash brings up in this interview are going to be things that she would have gathered from the videos done on her. I mean, I suppose it's possible that someone could have watched them and summarized it to her, or that she's getting the notion from reading comments. But as I said in my own video on the situation, that means that Ash is actively not looking into what other people allegedly say about her, and is expressly only going off of secondhand information provided to her. So if we go by what she's saying here, she's fumbling around in the dark, unaware of most of the issues had with her, and is actively choosing to not see what those arguments or issues are, which seems a little counterproductive given the intent of this interview and her earlier claim that she just wanted to clear up people's misunderstandings from these fabrications.
Her refusing to watch the videos on her also raises my own suspicion. Like, if people were making videos on me, I would want to know what I did to fuck up so bad and how I could possibly fix it. But we have already discussed that Ash is not the shiniest pan in the dish here.
Alright, I'll go back.
Yeah, I don't know like anyone you're talking about besides the Claire.
So, was there anything else that was maybe other alarms besides, I watched your video and you mentioned that she was obsessed with cancel culture.
She
I have
was.
a screenshot to prove that she was sending hate to you, Claire or woman.
No, he doesn't. For anyone who hasn't seen my video with Nezzy on Akuma's video on Slimmers, the screenshot he's talking about was a snippet of one of Slimmers' Instagram stories, except Nezzy and I were able to suss out the timeline for when that Instagram story was posted. Akuma insinuated that the Instagram story was the reason Ash doxed Slimmers because Slimmers incited people to attack Ash with that Instagram post. But not only could that have not been the case, because the Instagram story snippet couldn't have happened until hours after the docs, the snippet itself doesn't even say to go and attack Ash. I could totally see how it might look like that to someone, but,
If you have evidence, show it! The screenshots that I have seen on the Instagram story Ponder is talking about, it specifically says harassing Ash wouldn't do anything. With that wording, Slimmers is saying not to attack Ash. I'm pretty sure a child would understand it.
Now, to be fair, it could also be read as we have to attack her because while it might not work, there's nothing else we can do. But that's the problem. The screenshot can be read two different ways. One indicating that harassing a person isn't okay, and one indicating that it's potentially the best course of action. But we're going off of Akumu's current claim paired with the claim he made in his own video. Akumu only looks at one way when it could be read two different ways, or potentially more. And he's convinced it gives a reason for Ash to have doxed Slimmers, or tried to, when the story snippet couldn't have existed when the docs actually happened. Now, again, to be fair, Ash's Instagram story inciting harassment of Slimmers also did not directly say, go harass this person. Though it did provide a direct means by which one could do that, and directly stated that the artist in question was a liar, and that had done so publicly, which would indicate to people that Slimmers was trying to start shit, which is contrasted by Slimmers' Instagram story, since Ash actively was sending people to harass Slimmers at this point. So if you're gonna make the claim from your video on Slimmers, also I'm sorry if I'm harping on this too much, Stone,
You have to get Mr. Wilkins involved. But seriously, go ahead. I have to strand it.
that the reason for Ash attempting to dox Slimmers was because Slimmers was sending people to harass Ash, a claim that you are actually wrong about because you don't have the right time frame, then isn't Slimmers' Instagram story therein more reasonable, knowing that it was in response to direct targeted harassment from Ash's attempted dox? And even if someone tries to make the claim, oh, but because Slimmers vented about the situation and then put up a call out on Ash, wasn't she doing the same thing? And the answer to that is still no, because Ash's YouTube channel isn't a means of getting into contact with her in person like a phone number is.
Yeah, pretty much what happened. Wait, what did you ask again? Sorry, I'm like all along over. Are you talking about like the topic of hate, like her sending hate to me? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, because you said that in your video she talked about it, and she seemed to be fascinated with it.
Oh yeah, cancel culture. Shit, I'm really out of it for being sober. Sorry about that. Yeah, it was really strange. It was just something she liked to talk about. We would get in these like really long calls, and she would do most of the talking. I was just kind of, chilling there. And she loved talking about Slago in particular, and she would always kind of like, what is like the best way to articulate this? I guess like compare the Slago situation with her real life. And at her apparent like sexual assault. That's besides the point. Like she loved the Slazo situation. It fascinated her. And when she would talk about it, and by the way, my friend was also in a voice chat with her and kind of like confirmed this. She sounded really excited talking about it. So she would be like, "Isn't it cool that you could ruin someone's reputation with words?" Like that's literally how she said it, and it was really weird. But like it's only weird looking back on it because in the moment, like me and my friend were just like, yeah, that's
It's the same trend that
crazy.
I'm afraid to ask.
You shouldn't be. You know what this laugh means.
Ash left herself open to a massive contradiction.
Oh, most certainly. I have Ash's and Slimmer's full conversation.
Ooh, thanks. Let me read while you dish the dirt.
First of all, Ash claims that she got into these long calls with Slimmers, which in their Discord log, they only got the 2 calls. One initiated by Ash, and one initiated by Slimmers.
Why did you say that to people then? Oh, God, this is dumb. Sorry, I'm still reading. Sorry.
Don't worry, Octomama, we'll get there. So these calls she's claiming could only happen in her Discord servers in VC, which is alluded to once or twice in the text logs. However, that doesn't prove her being in calls with her for hours. Secondly, in the text logs, there was no mention of sexual assault in the slightest. I know you said it was mentioned in the call, but while you were on a call with Slimmers, you were posting pictures and memes. I would imagine it would have been alluded to at some point. It's always best to check. Thirdly, Ash stated she was just sitting there during most of the calls, and Slimmers doing most of the talking. However, in the chats we have, during her calls with Slimmers, we see that Ash is the one sending a hell of a lot of pictures, memes, and messages, showing that she was the most active out of the 2.
Wait, isn't that
Now yet, Ponder. Spoilers. Fourthly, throughout the whole conversation, I have not seen one mention of this Lazo situation. The closest thing she did was mention the pro-Jared situation in a passing at the beginning of the conversation. Never once was there a picture or word referencing the Slazo situation. Even if it was stated in the call, we can see that Ash is known for sending pictures while she is in chat. If they were talking about it, I would imagine it would be coming up in some way.
Granted, we are leaving some room that it could have been brought up in some way and just no pictures were sent for that portion of the conversation. Weird given what we've seen, but completely not impossible.
Again, it could have been in a VC in a server, but there was no proof of that. Let alone, they say she mentions it so much. I would say that if someone's mentioned it so much, there would be something somewhere. Someone did say she mentioned Alakakua situation because she was upset by it, because Night in the Woods is one of her favorite games, and it is one of mine as well. I understood her anger and sadness because I also felt it. Ash is also constantly pulling up the "read the words" comment, and the more and more she does it, the more and more I doubt it happening. It's almost like it's a mockery of Slimmers, like what she did with the 4 or 5 screenshots she posted in the interview. With all this being said, and with all the evidence I have, how am I supposed to take Ash or any of her claims seriously in the situation I have found myself in? Ash also states her friend can confirm it for her, but if he is Ash's friend, and if he's anything like Ash, we might have a hard time taking it seriously. That's how far Ash's words have fallen at this point. Have you finished reading, Ponder?
I don't like any of this. I'm getting squeaky feelings. Also, side note, Ash brings up Slazo here. Didn't Ash call Slazo a rapist and then delete the video once everything was proven to either be false or taken out of context as a means of discrediting him?
Yep, because Ponder found an archive of the video.
Telling her that he had urges to rape her and that he thinks it's fucked up, but like, what would you do if I raped you and stuff like that. I mean, it was just really manipulative, and I think that the only reason he didn't necessarily rape her that day that he was asking her those questions is because he didn't have the balls to, and he was testing his boundaries with her to see if he can rape her and get away with it, which he did. He sexually assaulted her multiple times.
I don't know if you really get to talk on Slimmers' alleged obsession with cancel culture with regards to the Slazo situation, Ash, especially considering you directly contributed to spreading it. No self-awareness, I fucking swear.
That's
It's the same trend that
crazy.
in the video.
Her name is Trigga. Trigga is my good friend and an admin of mine for my Discord server, and he was I think the only person that we went in a voice chat with, unless I forgot. I do have a shitty memory, unless like I'm talking about stuff that's like very recent, or it's like with emotion. I remember things better if there's emotion attached to it, so
Providing yet another reason for us to not take your word at face value, I see. Tell me, Ash, if you have such a shitty memory that you can't recall whether other friends were a part of these calls, and this was during the Slimmers situation, wouldn't that mean that the Slimmers situation as a whole was far enough gone by the time of this interview that your memory of it was unreliable? If you couldn't accurately remember this part of the situation, why should we assume that you were able to accurately remember all other facets of it? Such as all of the things you are expressly stating based on your own word and which have no screenshots to back it up.
That's what we call a lack of evidence and raw ignorance.
That's not even just a lack of evidence. Ash was effectively destroying her status as a credible witness by doing this. I mean, it's not like she hadn't done that already, but this was just further compounding it.
But Striga, she could have been in a voice chat with someone else as well. I don't really remember, but I do know it's Striga because Striga made those comments. Like in my story, he was the one that DM'd me that she didn't carry herself very well and that he was starting to get sus about her being like a college student or something, or like about to be a college freshman. Like he was just getting really sus and started DMing me like mid voice chat, and I basically just told him to fuck off because that's kind of the relationship we have. We have a lot of banter, so not in like a rude way, but.
So Akumu indicates to you the importance of certain screenshots. Don't you think, I don't know, maybe a screenshot of this interaction would have been useful, at least to showcase that the alleged friend was in a call with Slimmers and was suspicious of her? You gonna give us anything?
Yeah, I mean, he was there for it. He heard her say, like, isn't it crazy? Like, I don't know. She just seemed really excited and, like, fascinated with the internet and how you could do stuff like that. Just, like, reflecting. It's just really, like, creepy. And I think one of my friends even, like, they, like, showed me a screenshot that she started making her, like, social media dedicated to me with, like, highlights with my name. And, like, I was, like, on a plane and I saw it and I, like, got chilled. I was like, ugh. Weird. But yeah. Are there any other questions?
Screenshots, woman, are you allergic to them?
That's another thing. If her friend sent her this alleged screenshot, wouldn't she still have a record of it? Maybe she didn't save it at the time, but if they were texting or if they were on Discord, the screenshot would still exist in their chat log and it should be super easy to access.
I'm sure there is.
So,
Cool.
about the phone number, did you know it was fake?
100% fake. Would you like me to elaborate on that?
So, people are saying that 1 minute you doxed her, 1 minute you listened to your docs. I know the number was fake. Stories.
I have no idea why Akumu is saying that it's all a story. What's all a story? Is it a story that the number was real? Because everyone I've been aware of had been pretty relieved in knowing that the number wasn't real. Is it a story that Slimmers claimed the number was real? I don't understand.
I believe it is trying to say that the consequences of the phone number being released isn't real.
I don't see how. It was a number that you could contact Slimmers at. It just happened to be a number she could disconnect very quickly when that harassment started. And that number being fake hasn't stopped people from harassing her.
As you can see on screenshots on top of screenshots we have of people sending hateful Slimmers saying you were going to punish them. Like, get a checkup, man, like you told everyone else who disagreed with you. You're an extremely biased party. Maybe that's why Ash let you interview her.
Even in Nani's video, which was the first video made on the matter, Nani acknowledges that the phone number was from an app.
It was a really well-known fact since the beginning.
Yeah, sure, if someone made a video where they screwed up that part of the situation, fine, but shucks all shucks, Akumu is just as bad at giving examples and evidence as Ash is. Although, I guess I shouldn't be surprised, she did tell him not to mention anyone who made videos on her, so...
100%.
Player even said it was fake.
Yeah, it was 100% fake.
And yet, despite Ash claiming that she knew the number was fake and that she could elaborate on that, guess who doesn't do that?
She's basically doing
I would
nothing.
never, if it was a real number, I would never, ever dox someone. She has my real number. She could easily leak that, and I'm surprised she hasn't. Because she's willing to, like, go to extremes and lie about me and, like, you know, fabricate a story that never happened and make, like, her social media about me. It's really creepy, but the fact she hasn't leaked my number, okay, cool. If I were to actually have leaked a real number, don't you think she would have done it back? I mean, if she's apparently 15, that's kind of how they behave. the way I saw it, and by the way, there is evidence that it's fake. I mean, I didn't know she said that. I don't check her social media because I like blocked her on Discord and then she blocked me on Instagram, which is like fine. I never really checked her page since. But shit, sorry, I need like a drink.
Well, we have seen the caught Ash in another lie. Shocking. Ash didn't know the number was originally fake. I can agree that she maybe thought it was suspicious, sure, but she didn't know it was fake, because of her own wording while releasing the number. It states in one of her Snapchat stories, the one where she released the phone number, she didn't know that the number was fake. She said, so apparently this number is fake, which means she didn't know the number was fake to begin with. Her own wording gives her away.
Gee, now I guess we know why Ash didn't explain why she knew the number was fake.
As well, she said she would never do that to a real number. But that is also a lie. She did it to a person before the similar situation. She believed it was harassing. She also said things like, do you want this guy's address? As well as driving to their house, taking a picture of it, and posting it on their Instagram story with a threat. She threatened this person's life multiple times. No, Ash wouldn't do that, would she?
Now the question is, did Ash forget that she had publicly given out someone's phone number before, or was she hiding this little snippet from her past?
She just might have something else.
Most fake numbers
Where is it going with that?
they can't receive messages. They have to start it, then they can receive
Mm-hmm.
messages. That's how
Yeah.
I expect it.
I believe she used a text-free number.
Should be taken into consideration, neither Akumu nor Ash have stated what the app that Slimmers used was, which means that they can't guarantee that the app works the same way as the ones Akumu is familiar with. This also makes a little less sense for Akumu to assume this, given that Slimmers gave the number to Ash with the option for Ash to start the conversation, not the other way around like he's stating it should have happened.
We, however, were able to ask listeners what the app was and how it worked. The app is called TalkTo, and according to listeners, you can receive texts and calls when using the number. It's not necessarily the person using the number starts the conversation or can receive those messages.
I kind of agree with Slimmers here. If Akumu isn't going to bother doing some research on the topic, he probably shouldn't be speaking on something he has absolutely no knowledge of. At least do a little bit of research.
I decided to put it out there because I was like, damn, this person not only lied after I gave them credit and was like really nice to them, but they're like asking people to like come for me, like continuously. So I was like,
She did not. It could be interpreted as meaning that, but it could also be interpreted as not meaning that. Especially considering at the time, Ash had attempted to dox Slimmers already and sent people to harass her. And the Instagram story in question stated that what Ash was doing was, quote-unquote, not allowed, potentially indicating that harassment was not okay as well. Actually, with that in mind, and now that I'm directly looking at the image, yeah, no. The question Slimmers is answering is, does it help to comment and pressure her to credit you, or would that make it worse? It was this course of action that Slimmers was responding to. What is being referred to here does not inherently mean harassment. Commenting and telling a person to give credit to the artist they are effectively stealing from is not harassment. I'm about 100% done with this claim.
yes, and which was why I decided not to work with her anymore. I did everything I could to, you know, I don't know how to articulate it, just like be a good person to work with, and I just was not receiving that back. And the reason I just don't want to work with her is because she kept sending people after me, and then in the DMs acting like she, I don't know, like she still wanted to work with me, and she's sorry, and she's like a saint, and it was really weird. And I was like the first time, which I guess I could provide like a screen recording for you. She was like sending people after me. It was like, wow, we were cool. And I saw it, and so I DM'd her.
You're changing your story again.
Also, wow, Akumu, having your own bias show through there. You're a really bad interviewer. Ash tries to talk about how Slimmers acts like she still wants to work with her, and Akumu interrupts to infer that Slimmers is acting quote-unquote like she's innocent. Yeah, we can all see what angle you're approaching this from, my guy.
You originally said you worked things out with someone and then got mad at her for someone posting a comment, which we had already proven. Now you're saying that she sent people after you and then you began her. You're mixing up your story. And don't worry, already have the screen recording.
Oh,
Now,
whoops.
granted, maybe Ash
There.
just mixed up her wording. She stated that she's hungover, so that's always a possibility. Too bad this wouldn't excuse basically anything else she's been saying as potential slips of the tongue. That would be a lot of slips of the tongue. I'd expect her to be tongue-tied by this point.
And I am still going to point out mistakes. She also chose to do this interview while hungover, which is her own fault. If I was trying to clear my name, I would try to go in with much as a clear head as possible so I don't screw myself over.
Yeah,
Uh-oh.
but impulsivity.
Yeah, but I didn't even upload the video.
True.